Welcome to How Women Inspire. We're going to have an amazing conversation today with a very special guest who is innovating in something that has touched the lives of so many of you. Lauren Makler, the founder of Cofertility, which is one of our portfolio companies. I'm so excited to have been an investor in this company and to get to be a partner and see the growth of Cofertility. Lauren co-founded Cofertility with Hallie Tecco, and their work is making a huge impact on the reproductive health space. Before Cofertility, Lauren founded Uber Health, a huge innovation where she led efforts to help millions of patients access the care that they needed. Prior to that, she was instrumental in launching Uber's core business on the East Coast. And her own fertility journey sparked the drive to create something meaningful in this space. And I am so excited for all of you to hear how she's thinking about this with such a beautiful values framework. Lauren, I'm so excited for you to be here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to have this conversation, but also just to be part of your orbit. I think that the work that you and your team do is just so important. And so my team and I are really excited to be a part of it.
Fantastic. Before we get into co-fertility, let's do something fun real quick. If we were going to have dinner, what would your guest list be for an intimate dinner with maybe three trailblazing women from history? Who's on the guest list and what are you going to ask them?
I would go with a very random, eclectic mix of women.
Good.
Um,
Are innovating and eclectic and all those things
yeah,
of life.
I would go Dolly Parton. I would go Maya Angelou and Gloria Steinem. I would ask them all the same question, actually. A question that I think is really important, which is, what mistake have you learned from the most? I
Beautiful.
think that we all need to lean into mistakes being okay, you know?
Yeah. I love that. And I think the perspective from those women was such varied life experience. It's a very interesting thing about the generation of those women.
Mm.
They were all similar generations, right? Part
Yes.
of this generation of women who really were there when Title IX was passed, throughout all these innovations and challenges for women to be their full selves. And all three of them have done it in such different ways, right?
Yeah. And I think our generation needs to push their work forward and continue that legacy.
Well, let's talk about co-fertility. Okay, what is
Yeah.
co-fertility? Maybe first and foremost, would you
Yeah.
share?
We're best known for what we call our split program, where we enable women to freeze their eggs for free and store them for free for up to 10 years when they donate half of the eggs retrieved to intended parents who can't otherwise conceive.
Yeah,
And so we're taking cash compensation out of egg donation, making it less transactional and more ethical while making egg freezing more accessible at the same time.
fantastic. And who is the audience for this?
Yeah. So on one side, we have people who are interested in freezing their eggs.
Yeah,
We often say the best time to freeze your eggs is when you can least afford it, right? The younger you are, the greater your egg quantity, the greater your egg quality. Typically, we're looking at women who are in their 20s and early 30s. And then on the other side, we have intended parents who need the help of an egg donor to have a baby. And so that could be someone who's struggling with fertility challenges. It could be same-sex male couples. It could be single parents. Really, there's so many different reasons why someone may need that on their path to parenthood. Our hope is just to help them feel like they're not settling at all on that journey.
why is co-fertility so innovative? What are you bringing to the market?
I think that the status quo in this space, at least on the egg donation side, is very focused on this very transactional experience where women are paid to donate their eggs. It does not feel in alignment with their values and ultimately can be a turnoff for women. And that leaves intended parents without options.
Yeah,
And so there is a major lack of diversity amongst egg donors. There's a major lack of finding donors who reflect their background, which ultimately is what people want when growing their family. We're leaving intended parents without options, especially those in the LGBTQ community. And our model really pushes a new sort of environment where we're opening the pie of women that are interested in egg donation.
Yeah.
right? It's not rocket science, by the way, what we're doing. You cannot have egg donation without an egg retrieval process. And so we're not doing something so groundbreaking in that way. We're just saying, hey, this person who's going through this experience, like, why doesn't she get to keep half of the
Yeah.
eggs, right?
Yeah.
And
Right.
so actually there's so many women who have donated eggs who then go on later in life to wish that they had kept some of those eggs for themselves.
Yeah.
We're just taking something that already exists and putting it into a new recipe to solve a problem.
Yeah, well, all problems all along the cycle, right? The whole
Exactly.
system has gaps and things that feel like they're a black box that you like
Yeah.
good for people. I was talking to somebody the other day about who would do this in their early 20s. I was like, how about somebody who just got into law school or
Oh,
medical
yeah.
school and knows they're going to have a long road ahead of them and they're going to delay having children until they're
You
30s,
know,
let's say. That's when it starts to get hard.
it's really interesting, Julie, that you mentioned that. Before we started Cofertility, I wondered, who's gonna do this, right? And then I realized I'm not even the target demo. Like, I'm too old. Like, I would not qualify, right? And so I'm very data driven, and I needed to understand, like, would someone in the actual age group who would qualify for egg donation be interested in doing this? And so we set up a survey and had a handful of influencers in our network put up a survey on their Instagram
Right.
stories. In less than 24 hours, we had almost 1,000 women who filled out the survey. I thought it was broken because of how many women said yes.
You thought it
Six
was bots or something.
66% of them said yes or definitely.
Wow.
And so to me, that was like, I kept refreshing. Like, I
Right,
thought there was
right,
something wrong with it. And then I
right,
looked, I was
right.
like, no, this is real.
Yeah.
And then that day was the day, and I have goosebumps thinking about it, honestly, because that was the one where I was like, it doesn't matter what women in their late 30s or 40s or 50s or 60s think about this business model or whether or not they would do it. What matters is how do the people that actually qualify for it feel about it? What's true about this generation is that two things. One, they understand the challenges that women before them had faced in growing their families, and they see the value in freezing eggs. And two, they're more understanding that the way that we build families today is more dynamic than it's ever been. They themselves might be part of the LGBTQ community. They know that people need the help of a third party to have a baby. And
Yeah,
so
yeah,
they think it's like a beautiful win win.
yeah.
And they're much more open minded to it than
Mhm.
people who come before them.
Well, I'll tell you what it's fascinating to me. There's a paper that just came out and it said more women over 40 are having
Yes.
babies than teenagers these days, right? I have somebody who's been working with me for 12 years. She had a baby through IVF. At 42, she just got
Yeah.
married and only had 3 embryos to choose from. My daughter went through the process because she's working at a tech company. She's
Yeah.
28, was getting married, but wanted to delay.
Yeah.
So she was able to get, I think, 18 viable or whatever
Yeah.
at 22.
Amazing.
But you think about the
Look at
diminishing, but if she'd
yeah.
been but they actually said, "Oh, by the way, it's a good thing you did this." If you know at 22, 23, you're not planning on parenting soon, what a gift to be able to get ahead of it. You know at
Yes.
34 that you're not married, but you wanna be married and have a baby. You
Yeah.
gotta do something.
Well,
It's expensive.
and we actually see that some of our biggest groups of users or members are women in med school, law school, MBA students, right?
Yeah.
Because they're planning. They know, oh, I have my residency and a fellowship and all of these
I know.
things. But what's interesting is that they're planning. And now more than ever, we know about secondary infertility, where someone has no problem getting and staying pregnant with their first child. But when it comes time for subsequent children, child number 2 or 3, it's much harder to get and or stay pregnant, right? And that's because we're getting older. And so if you have the opportunity to freeze your eggs or create embryos or something like that, just to have that
Yeah.
plan in place, that's a wonderful choice that you get to make. It's not a choice for everybody, and that's okay, but we're all about options.
Well, my husband came from a family of 9, I came from a family of 5.
Wow.
I had 2 kids by the time I was 28, and I couldn't get pregnant after that, and we looked at I run a nonprofit, this was a long time ago, so
Yeah.
30 years ago, there's no scenario in which I could have afforded IVF at that time
Right.
in life, but we wanted more kids. What a gift for people to be able to have this as an option. This comes out of your own personal journey. So how has this impacted your life, and how does it feel every day to wake up and work on something that you know personally how important this is?
It's a gift that I cannot believe this is the work I get to do. There are days where it's hard and I'm deep in a spreadsheet or in numbers, but then I open an email from an intended parent who says, look at this baby. Look at this cofertility baby. I'm like, what is better than that? And so I feel there's nothing I'd rather be doing. But yeah, my own personal journey is one that certainly inspired cofertility. And same goes for Hallie, right? Like we had very winding roads to becoming moms. We had professional work experience in digital health and this personal experience that fueled us wanting to create this. When we saw pain points that existed within egg donation and how transactional it felt, that combined with the fact that I know Hallie's biggest regret in life is that she didn't freeze her eggs in her 20s. She says, I did a lot of things in my 20s. The only thing I wish I had done was freeze my eggs. And so, yeah, we use it as fuel every day.
So when you think about this as gender, as it relates to gender equality, I have so many
Yeah.
opinions about it personally.
Yeah.
This is what I've spent all my life
Yeah.
thinking about. Did you have a moment when you were like, oh wait, this is really a critical part of
Yeah. I actually read there was a study published in the American Society of Reproductive Medicine that confirms this, that egg freezing can contribute to gender equality. But I felt it myself personally. It's a very long story, so I'll give you the short version. But basically, I had been diagnosed with an incredibly rare abdominal disease and was told that I may lose my ovaries when having surgery to remove the disease. And there were hormones involved, so we didn't end up having the opportunity to freeze my eggs at the time. My sister froze her eggs and donated them to me in case I needed them someday, which is just the best. She's the best, truly. After surgery, I ended up having 3 surgeries. Very long story. I did not lose my ovaries, which is total miracle, but I got to live my life with the gift of frozen eggs, right?
knowing.
Yeah, I got to make decisions about my career
Yeah.
without the pressure of my
Yeah.
biological clock. I got to make decisions about my relationship without the pressure of my biological clock, right? And so suddenly I felt this newfound, oh, I don't have to have that in the front of my brain all the time, which I had previously had. Imagine if that's a relief or a feeling that more women can have, right? That isn't afforded just to the women who work at these big tech companies or who isn't just afforded to the women whose parents can help pay for it. I think that it's just not something men have to worry about,
Well,
right?
and being able to plan your career more and more, I'm realizing, especially right now with a weird retraction of nuttiness that's going on in
I
the
totally.
country, being able to plan it, being able to know what to expect as opposed to this sort of I'm a victim or accidental, and all of a sudden my life's off the rails and I have to change everything overnight. It's really important. I had my kids when I was so young. We were so broke. I look back and it's like, it is what it is. They're magnificent and won the genetic lottery. But, boy, was that hard.
No,
If I'd waited till I was 30, I wouldn't have had babies. If
one of
back then
our
this wasn't available, we didn't have Cofertility.
Right. One of our amazing investors from our seed round who has gone on to invest multiple times now, Parl Singh, said that her grandmother had her first child at 16. Her mother had her first child at 26, and Parl had her first child at 36. And if that trend continues, we need the help of assisted
Well, if
reproductive
more people are
technology.
having babies in
Uh,
their 40s and
Right,
teenagers, like
exactly, right. So in some ways, a lot has changed, right? In that we're having children later, and the science has changed and evolved. But then in other ways, and I'm thinking right behind me, you can see this, was a magazine that my grandmother saved from 1933, and it says, "Do you believe in birth control?" Right? Like we're asking the same question in 1933 that we're asking in 2025.
no, we can't even ask. Like, I can't even handle it. I'm not asking for permission anymore. I'm not asking for a seat at the table. My friends, this is the first generation of us. We have a huge opportunity. We have power and influence and wealth. And we can start building the tables where we get the prime seats. Today, we want to invite you to join us as investors in venture. I know no one's asked you to do it before. It might be something that seems scary or foreign, but I promise you it's not that different than investing in a mutual fund where your retirement funds are. I want you to lean in and just learn a little bit more. How about making a commitment that in the next 12 months, you can give yourself 12 months to figure it out and to take a step? I want to invite you to be part of the new table of power and influence and wealth. You're invited. I want to sit at the table with you because we're going to make big change. We're going to make the world we've been dreaming of. All right, then let's move into this. The political and regulatory environment seem way too linked now than they have ever before.
Yeah.
How is that impacting Cofertility and its ethical approach to egg donation? I want to make sure I underscore
Yeah.
ethical.
Yeah. And we believe it's ethical in the sense that we're trying to consider the perspectives of everyone involved, not just the intended parent, not just the donor, but also the donor conceived person that is born from this donation, right? And thinking about their future and what it means to grow up as donor conceived and not have that be a trauma induced part of their identity. We consider that very much in everything that we do. And we work with the donor conceived community to make sure that we're considering their perspectives and how we've designed our platform. But from a regulatory standpoint, we think about everything from what states are we storing these eggs? What states are we having these egg retrievals? We think about mandated coverage, right? I mean, it's kind of wild to see that this like mandate has come through in terms or this executive order related to covering the cost of IVF, which like, hey, more coverage, I'm here for it. But what I'm not clear on, because the order came with very limited detail, is like, who's paying for it? Is this tax dollars? Is this from health insurers? It's very unclear. And so we're obviously paying very close attention to that. But the thing that we think is just super important is that it's inclusive of all types of families,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I really want to make sure, and we just believe that anybody who wants to be a parent deserves to be a parent. And we want to make sure that any policy that comes down around family building is inclusive.
You're so beautiful, Lauren. I'm very happy. I'm so honored to be supporting this journey
Thank
of
you.
yours because of your core values. You've got so many beautiful things. You say you've talked about family building shouldn't be a one-time transaction. Can you talk a little bit more about how cofertility stays a part of people's
Yeah,
lives?
yeah. So we believe that it's a journey and it takes a village, right? It's not this like, oh, I don't even like the term buy eggs, right? That's not what this is. This is something that should be a big decision for a lifetime. We care very much about making sure the donor and the intended parent have the opportunity to connect and know one another if that's something that they want, and to not do this in like a anonymous way. We help foster disclosed donations where we help to like understand what the long-term relationship will be between those two parties. We're happy to be a part of that in the long term or to help facilitate that. We also have resources in terms of a private online community for our members, as well as like our medical advisors. And even we have a fertility psychologist that's on our medical advisory who we have give our members access to over time. And so I think that like support and education throughout the process, but also in raising a donor conceived child is something that's really important. And we're proud to be able to offer that for our members.
Everything about making a family is so personal
Yeah,
and full of love and it's complex, and so giving
totally.
the container to have a lot of different ways to think about this. Some people may be like, "Listen, I want a full-on transparent relationship," and other people are like, "No, I want this to just be for me."
Yeah, and that's
So
why we have amazing member advocates on our team who every match is assigned a member advocate. And
yeah,
so we understand both the intended parent and the donor's goals and desires for what this looks and feels like
yeah.
before they're in a match to make sure that they're in alignment with one another throughout the whole process.
What is co-fertility's role in the future of fertility education? And do you have changes that you're hoping to see?
Yeah, I mean, Actually, there was a study recently that said 3 in 5 Gen Z women are concerned about their fertility. I don't see that as fear-mongering. I see that as millennials and Gen X and even boomers have done a better job of talking about their experience. That to me is step 1. It's just like awareness. And people who are aware then seek education, right? And so I see us showing up in the world, and we call it our big sister effect, where we show up as this first step in someone's fertility journey. It's a lot less intimidating than showing up at a fertility clinic, right? Because
Yeah.
fertility clinics are known for infertility, which is a really scary place to start when you're just thinking about how can I plan proactively. And so we act as this approachable first step. And as people who've been through it before, feel comfortable asking those questions and feel comfortable getting that information. And we're in it with you. And so that's what we're about.
I love that. So we're almost out of time, Lauren. Can I do a rapid round of lightning questions?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
totally.
Is there a piece of advice that you've received that stayed within you for a long time?
Make sure that you're not just working for a company, but that you're working for the people. Make sure that you feel values aligned with the leadership and that these are people that you want to hitch your wagon to their horse. Feel
And
really proud of who you're working with.
is there a song that gets you pumped up?
It's so cheesy and kind of embarrassing, but yes, actually, it started with my surgeries. I would listen to Rachel Platten's fight song on my way to the surgery. And now, like before I have a big meeting or anything, I'm like, gotta listen to the fight song.
All right. I love that. Why is that so
It's
cheesy?
That's my fight song. It
We all
is.
have our thing. Music
Yeah,
gets too cheesy. All right.
totally.
What is there a book for aspiring female leaders?
Oh my gosh. The book that changed my life the most, and I don't know that this is about leadership per se, but just a book that I really internalized and changed the way I show up in the world and operate is Super Attractor by Gabby
Oh, yeah.
Bernstein. And I now have like manifested Gabby Bernstein in my life.
Ah,
Like she's like the coolest. So I feel very
I
lucky to know her now.
I love that. Do you have a personal motto or quote you live by?
Yes. It's actually now one of Cofertility's core values, which is everything is figure outable.
All right. How can people find you, Lauren?
On Instagram at Lauren Makler, Makler. But check us out at Cofertility. Would love to have you in our world.
Thank you so much. What a gift to the world that you are bringing. I'm so honored to be a part of your journey. Thank you.
Thank you for everything you do. I'm so excited to be a part of your world.